I grew up in a typical middle-class family in Boston, always feeling like the odd one out among my siblings. While they enjoyed our parents' constant approval and support, I learned to fend for myself from an early age. Nothing prepared me for the day I discovered they had each received $200,000 to start their adult lives while I got nothing. The real shock came years later, when after building my own success from scratch, my struggling family suddenly reappeared with hands outstretched. Before I dive into how my family's betrayal became my greatest motivation, drop a comment telling me where you're watching from, and hit that subscribe button if you've ever had to prove someone wrong who underestimated you. My childhood unfolded in a peaceful suburban neighborhood outside Chicago. Our family of 5 lived in a spacious 2-story home with a neatly trimmed lawn that my father James took pride in maintaining every weekend. Dad worked as an insurance executive at a reputable firm downtown, while Mom Diana balanced her role as a part-time nurse at the local hospital with managing our household. From my earliest memories, the family dynamic seemed permanently established. My older brother Kyle, 4 years my senior, commanded attention with his natural athletic abilities. He played 3 sports each year and brought home trophies that filled an entire shelf in our living room. Dad never missed his games, beaming with pride from the sidelines and recounting Kyle's accomplishments to anyone who would listen. My younger sister Ashley, 2 years behind me, secured her position as the family darling with her outgoing personality and infectious laugh. Mom called her my little princess and spent countless hours shopping for matching outfits or baking cookies together. Being the only daughter certainly had its advantages in our household. Then there was me, sandwiched between my siblings, with my nose perpetually buried in books. I maintained straight-A grades and won several academic competitions, but these achievements rarely earned more than a passing good job from my parents. My artistic talents, sketching detailed architectural designs and creating intricate sculptures, were treated as mere hobbies rather than genuine passions worth nurturing. The subtle favoritism became more apparent during family vacations. One summer when I was 8, we drove to Florida for a beach getaway. Kyle wanted to visit the Sports Hall of Fame, so we spent an entire day there. Ashley begged to see the dolphin show, resulting in another full-day excursion. When I asked to visit the Science Museum, Dad responded, "Maybe if we have time," which we never did. My 10th birthday stands out as a particularly painful memory. After weeks of hints about a new bicycle, I had my heart set on the big day arrived. Kyle and Dad rolled out a refurbished bike from the garage one they had found at a garage sale and fixed up. The handlebars were slightly bent, and the paint was chipped in several places. I forced a smile and thanked them, trying to hide my disappointment. Just 6 months earlier, Kyle had received a brand new mountain bike for his birthday, and 3 months later, Ashley would unwrap her own gleaming pink bicycle with streamers and a basket. These experiences taught me self-reliance early. By 12, I was mowing neighbors' lawns and walking dogs to earn money for the things I wanted. While my siblings received allowances for basic chores, my parents explained that I needed to learn the value of hard work. At the time, I believed this meant they saw special potential in me. In middle school, I qualified for the regional science competition with my project on renewable energy. The event fell on the same Saturday as Kyle's baseball semifinal. Without hesitation, my parents chose his game, leaving me to take the bus to my competition with my science teacher. I won first place, and though my parents congratulated me later that evening, the conversation quickly shifted to Kyle's game-winning home run. My teenage years became increasingly independent. While Kyle focused on sports and Ashley on her social life and cheerleading, I juggled academics with part-time jobs at the local bookstore and tutoring younger students. I saved diligently, assuming my parents expected me to contribute to my college fund. High school graduation brought another stark contrast in treatment. When Kyle graduated 4 years earlier, he received a used but reliable car to take to college. My gift was a $50 gift card to the university bookstore, Mom explained. You have always been our responsible one, Emil. We know you will make smart choices without our help. This rhetoric about being the responsible one became a convenient justification for the unequal treatment. Rather than recognizing my maturity as something to reward my parents, used it as an excuse to give me less. Still, I maintained hope that college would represent a fresh start. Perhaps my academic scholarships would finally earn their recognition. That hope evaporated during a conversation the summer before my freshman year. Sitting at our kitchen table with college brochures spread out before us, my parents gently explained they would not be contributing to my education. Kyle's athletic scholarship had only covered partial tuition, so they had invested heavily in his education. Ashley's dance program would similarly require substantial financial support. We know you will figure it out, Emil, my father said, with confidence that felt like abandonment. You have always been resourceful. I nodded, swallowing the lump in my throat, and began researching student loans that evening. I enrolled at the state university armed with partial academic scholarships and federal loans to cover the rest. The financial aid office became my second home as I navigated the complex web of paperwork required to fund each semester. Unlike many of my peers who focused solely on classes and campus activities, I worked 20 hours weekly at the campus bookstore and another 15 hours delivering food on weekends. Despite this grueling schedule, I maintained my position on the dean's list every semester. Sleep became a luxury as I balanced work studies and the occasional social outing to preserve my sanity. My rare visits home during breaks grew increasingly uncomfortable. The distance between my reality and my family's perception of it widened with each passing semester. During my junior year Christmas break, I returned home to find Ashley bubbling with excitement over dinner. At 20 years old, my younger sister announced she was buying a house, a charming 3-bedroom, in a desirable neighborhood near our parents. How can you afford that in this market? I asked, genuinely perplexed. Ashley worked part-time at a boutique while taking classes at the community college. Mom and Dad are helping me with the down payment, she replied casually, as if this were perfectly normal. The conversation shifted before I could process this information, but questions lingered in my mind. 2 days later, while helping Mom troubleshoot an issue with her laptop, I accidentally discovered a folder labeled Family Financial Planning. Curiosity got the better of me, and I clicked it open. Their organized in neat spreadsheets was evidence of what my parents considered equitable family planning. $200,000 allocated to Ashley for her home purchase, and an identical amount previously given to Kyle to start his sports training business after college graduation. My name appeared nowhere in these significant financial distributions. I spent the remainder of the break quietly observing my family, searching for any acknowledgement of this disparity. None came. When I returned to campus, the knowledge festered until spring break, when I decided a direct conversation was necessary. Standing in our kitchen, while my parents prepared dinner, I gathered my courage. I need to ask you something important. I began, my voice steadier than expected. I found your financial planning folder while fixing Mom's computer. Why did Kyle and Ashley each receive $200,000 while I got nothing? The kitchen fell silent, except for the simmering pot on the stove. My parents exchanged a look I had seen many times before, the one that preceded a rehearsed explanation for uncomfortable truths. Emil. My father started placing down his cooking spoon. We distribute our resources where they are needed most. You have always been naturally resourceful and independent. Kyle needed capital to launch his business venture, and Ashley required stability to finish her education. What about my student loans? I countered. I will graduate with $68,000 of debt while they start their adult lives debt-free. How is that fair? My mother stepped in her tone, gentle but dismissive. We knew you would figure it out. You always have. Your siblings need more support. You are capable of making your own way. The cruel irony hit me like a physical blow. My self-reliance, developed out of necessity because of their neglect, had become their justification for further neglect. The traits I had developed to survive their favoritism were now being used against me. I spent my final semester of college processing this betrayal, throwing myself into studies and work with renewed determination. When graduation day arrived, I declined my family's invitation to dinner, choosing instead to celebrate with friends who had become my true support system. A job offer from a tech company in Seattle provided the perfect opportunity for distance. 2,000 miles seemed appropriate for the emotional space I needed. During our last conversation before my move, I explained to my parents that I needed time to process our relationship. "I do not understand why you are making such a big deal about this," my mother said, tears forming in her eyes. "Families help each other differently based on their needs. I needed help too." I replied simply, "You just never saw it." With $68,000 of student debt weighing on my shoulders, I boarded a plane to Seattle, determined to build a life on my own terms, while my siblings enjoyed their $200,000 head starts. My first Seattle apartment could generously be described as compact, a studio in the industrial district, with questionable heating and neighbors who seemed allergic to quiet. The rent consumed nearly half my entry-level salary, but it was mine, paid for with my own earnings. The tech startup that hired me specialized in customer relationship management software, not exactly the cutting-edge work I had dreamed of, but a foot in the door of the industry. My position as a junior project coordinator involved long hours of administrative tasks, client communications, and whatever miscellaneous responsibilities more senior team members delegated. During my third month, I met Marcus, a senior developer who noticed me staying late to learn basic coding from online tutorials after hours. Rather than shooing me out of the building, he pulled up a chair. "That is not the most efficient approach to that problem," he commented, pointing to my screen. "Mind if I show you something?" Those casual evening tutorials became regular occurrences. Marcus recognized a hunger in me that reminded him of his younger self. Under his guidance, my technical skills developed rapidly. I absorbed information like a sponge, applying new knowledge immediately and seeking more. "Most people work to live," Marcus observed one evening. "You work like you have something to prove." He was right. Every line of code I wrote, every project I completed ahead of schedule, felt like evidence against the narrative my family had constructed about me. I was not merely doing fine on my own. I was excelling. After 18 months of consistent performance and countless extra hours, I earned a promotion to project manager with a substantial salary increase. My student loans, which had seemed insurmountable now, had a clear payoff timeline. Contact with my family reduced to holiday texts and occasional phone calls. These brief exchanges revealed subtle shifts in their circumstances. Kyle's training business struggled to attract clients in a saturated market. Ashley's house, once a symbol of her preferential treatment, faced foreclosure after she lost her job and fell behind on payments. My parents mentioned these developments in passing, never explicitly asking for help, but seeding the conversation with hints about challenging times. I listened without offering solutions. A part of me, a part I was not entirely proud of, felt vindicated by their struggles. The advantages they had received had not translated to sustainable success. 3 years into my Seattle life, an opportunity arose that would change everything. A former colleague reached out about joining an artificial intelligence startup with tremendous potential. The position offered less immediate stability than my current role, but included equity options that could prove valuable if the company succeeded. The decision meant risking the security I had built for uncertain potential. After a week of deliberation, I accepted the offer, drawn to both the cutting-edge technology and the greater financial upside. The next 2 years passed in a blur of 80-hour work weeks, problem-solving sessions that stretched until dawn, and the exhilarating rush of building something revolutionary. Our team developed machine learning algorithms that transform data processing for healthcare systems, attracting attention from major investors. When the company secured Series B funding at a valuation exceeding $200 million, my modest equity stake suddenly represented substantial wealth. At 29, I found myself with a net worth in the millions built without familial support or connections. I purchased a modern waterfront condo with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Puget Sound. For the first time, I bought furniture because I liked it rather than because it was on clearance. Small luxuries that had once seemed frivolous quality coffee beans weekend getaways, clothes that were not on sale, became part of my normal life. My success did not go unnoticed. A feature in Forbes 30 Under 30 included a profile of my journey and a professional photograph in my company's sleek headquarters. Through social media connections, I learned that my family had seen the article, though none reached out directly to congratulate me. I had proven myself in the most definitive way possible. Yet instead of satisfaction, I felt a curious emptiness. Success, it turned out, was a poor substitute for the family support I had always craved. The call came on a rainy Tuesday afternoon 5 years after I had left Chicago. Seeing my mother's name on the screen sent a wave of complicated emotions through me. We had not spoken in over 3 months. "Emile, how are you? It has been too long," she began, her voice carrying a warmth I had not heard in years. We exchanged awkward small talk about weather and work before she cleared her throat. "I am calling because we are going through a difficult time right now." The story unfolded piece by piece. Dad's insurance company had undergone massive restructuring, eliminating his position despite his 30 years of service. At 58, he struggled to find comparable employment in an industry increasingly favoring younger, less expensive talent. Kyle's training business had failed completely, leaving him with substantial debt. The $200,000 investment had evaporated, along with additional loans my parents had co-signed. Ashley, now divorced from her husband of 2 years, had moved back home with her 3-year-old daughter, financially dependent on our parents. "We are facing bankruptcy." "Emile," my mother admitted, her voice cracking. "The house is 3 months behind on payments. We might lose it." I remained silent, processing this information. Part of me had anticipated this call for years. "We would not ask if we had any other option," she continued. "But we need temporary assistance. Around $150,000 to clear the most pressing debts and stabilize our situation." The audacity of the request, equal to 75% of what each of my siblings had received, yet framed as temporary assistance, left me momentarily speechless. Not once in the conversation had she acknowledged the past inequity or apologized for how they had treated me. "I need some time to think about this," I replied evenly. "We do not have much time, Emile," she responded, an edge of impatience in her tone. "The foreclosure proceedings start next month. I will call you back within the week I promised," before ending the call. That evening I discussed the situation with my therapist, whom I had been seeing to work through my family dynamics. "The question is not whether you can help them," she observed. "It is whether you should, and under what conditions." There is a difference between healthy boundaries and vindictiveness. After days of reflection, I booked a flight to Chicago. This conversation needed to happen in person. The family home, once meticulously maintained, showed visible signs of neglect. The lawn had grown wild paint, peeled from the trim, and the screen door hung askew on broken hinges. My father answered my knock, having aged a decade in the 5 years since I had seen him last. "Everyone is in the living room," he said simply. The family meeting that followed was tense from the start. Kyle, now sporting a receding hairline, and extra weight, barely met my eyes. Ashley sat nervously, bouncing my niece on her knee. My parents perched on the edge of the sofa, expectant. "Thank you for coming," my mother began. "We were not sure you would. It is good that Emile is finally stepping up for this family." Kyle interjected, his tone carrying an entitlement that instantly raised my hackles. "Stepping up," I repeated. Interesting choice of words considering I am the only one who never received family financial support. Ashley's eyes welled with tears. We are just in a really tough spot right now. I have Lily to think about. She gestured to my niece. We know you are doing very well now, my father added. The Forbes article mentioned your company's success. I took a deep breath. I think we need to address the elephant in the room. You gave Kyle and Ashley $200,000 each to start their adult lives. I received nothing except student debt that took years to pay off. The defensive reactions were immediate. That was different. We did what we thought was best. You were always more capable. I raised a hand to halt the chorus of justifications. I did not bring a checkbook today, I said calmly. I brought something more valuable. I brought Mark, a financial advisor who specializes in family debt restructuring. I gestured to the professional waiting in my rental car. The announcement silenced the room. Here is my offer, I continued. I will provide structured assistance, contingent on financial counseling and accountability. Mark will assess your situation, create a sustainable plan, and I will help implement it with conditions. Kyle shot to his feet. So you are going to control us, make us beg for every penny. This is ridiculous. He stormed out, slamming the front door behind him. My parents exchanged glances. The power dynamic between us irrevocably shifted. For the first time, they were looking at me not as their responsible child, who needed nothing, but as an adult whose boundaries they had to respect. What are your conditions? My father asked quietly. First, acknowledgement of the inequity in how you distributed family resources. Second, financial transparency and adherence to the plan Mark creates. Third, no additional requests beyond what we agree to now. The terms were accepted with subdued nods. As Mark entered with his briefcase of paperwork, I felt neither triumph nor vindication, only a somber recognition that some family wounds never fully heal, but they can transform into something manageable. My return to Seattle brought mixed emotions, but a newfound confidence in my boundaries. I arranged to cover 6 months of my parents' mortgage while they restructured their finances and found stable employment. Kyle initially refused my offer of business mentorship, his pride still smarting, but Ashley gratefully accepted help contingent on completing financial literacy classes. The experience prompted me to become more involved with a mentorship program for underprivileged youth in Seattle. I established a scholarship fund specifically for self-supporting students without family financial backing. Turning my painful experience into support for others brought meaning to what had once felt like senseless rejection. Over the following year, my relationship with my parents evolved into something more balanced. During a Christmas gathering at my Seattle home, my father pulled me aside. We made mistakes, Emil, he admitted, the first direct acknowledgement I had ever received. We took your strength for granted. It was wrong. The acknowledgement did not erase the past, but it opened a door to a future where we could relate as adults, not without scars, but with greater honesty. I found unexpected joy in building a chosen family of friends and colleagues who valued me for who I was, not what I could provide. Among them was Sophia, an art gallery owner whose appreciation for my journey resonated deeply with me. She understood the complex emotions of family reconciliation without romanticizing it. 1 year after the financial intervention, my family showed remarkable progress. My parents sold the two-large family home for an appropriate retirement property. Ashley had secured stable employment and was taking active steps toward independence, expressing genuine gratitude for the opportunity to reset her life. Even Kyle eventually swallowed his pride enough to ask for business advice, leading to a modest but sustainable new venture. The exclusion that had once wounded me so deeply had ultimately pushed me to build resilience and self-sufficiency beyond what comfort might have allowed. The very qualities my parents had exploited became my greatest strengths in the wider world. I realized that success is indeed the best response to underestimation. The freedom of self-reliance, truly knowing you can weather any storm alone if necessary, creates a foundation that nothing can shake. Yet I also learned that helping others without enabling dependence creates connections stronger than obligation. This journey taught me that family wounds can become sources of strength when properly processed. The pain of exclusion directed me toward opportunities I might never have pursued if given an easier path. In creating my own way forward, I discovered capabilities beyond what any amount of family support might have nurtured. Have you ever been underestimated only to prove everyone wrong? Share your story in the comments below. If this resonated with you, please hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up so others can find it too. Remember, sometimes the people who believe in you the least motivate you to achieve the most. Thank you for listening to my story, and I hope it inspires you to turn your obstacles into stepping stones for success.